I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We begin with the conflicting stories, one from the White House press secretary, the other under oath from the head of the FBI, about when the Bureau passed along information about the security clearance investigation for Rob Porter. He's the former Trump aide. He resigned after his ex-wife's allegations of domestic abuse and assault were published a week ago. I'll speak with Congressman Ted Deutsch of the Judiciary and Foreign Affairs Committees. And our correspondents and specialists, they're all standing by with details on the breaking news. First, let's go to our chief White House correspondent, Jim Acosta. Jim, the White House story, it keeps on changing.
It really does, Wolf, and the White House is at odds with the FBI once again, this time over the timeline in the scandal involving former Staff Secretary Rob Porter, directly contradicting White House officials. The director of the FBI testified today that the agency had completed its investigation into Porter's background months ago. That led the White House secretary to come out into the briefing room once again and engage in shifting explanations.
President Trump once again steered clear of questions about former White House Staff Secretary Rob Porter.
Do you believe Rob Porter's ex-wife, Mr. President?
Whose resignation amid allegations of domestic abuse has raised critical questions about the security clearance process for West Wing staffers. At a congressional hearing, FBI Director Christopher Wray disclosed what he knew about Porter's background check and made jaws drop across Washington when he said his agents completed their investigation last summer.
The FBI submitted a partial report on the investigation in question in March, and then a completed background investigation in late July. That is, soon thereafter, we received requests for follow-up inquiry, and we did the follow-up and provided that information in November, and then we administratively closed the file in January.
That appeared to contradict what top White House officials have said for days, that the background check investigation was not finished.
His background investigation was ongoing. He was operating on an interim security clearance. His clearance was never denied, and he resigned.
Today, aides to the president tried a new explanation, stating that while the FBI had completed its investigation, the White House Personnel Security Office had not.
They had not made a final recommendation for adjudication to the White House because the process was still ongoing when Rob Porter resigned. The White House Personnel Security Office plays run by career officials, and we hadn't received a recommendation from that office.
That's despite the fact that Press Secretary Sarah Sanders just said Monday the FBI handled the background check process.
Look, this is a process that doesn't operate within the White House. It's handled by our law enforcement and intelligence community, and we support that process.
Sanders continued to maintain Chief of Staff John Kelly only became aware of the details of Porter's past last week, but even she appeared frustrated with the shifting explanations.
I can only give you the best information that I have, and that's my understanding.
Joining Wray at the same hearing, the Director of National Intelligence said the government security clearance process is due for an overhaul.
The process is broken. It needs to be reformed. We have 700,000 backups. So we have situations where we need people in places, but they don't yet have that.
Even fellow Republicans aren't happy. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst said the president hasn't done enough to stand up for victims of domestic abuse.
I think he needs to send a stronger message, We need to allow women and men that have been abused to come out, make sure their stories are heard and believed.
Now, the White House said once again today that the president continues to have confidence in Chief of Staff John Kelly, who presided over all of this. It was Kelly who told the Wall Street Journal earlier today that everything was done right in the Porter matter, but that's after a White House spokesman said last week that things could have been handled better over the last week.